to talk about relationships because in relationships there are a number of different problems that can occur, and having Asperger's or autism, or your partner having Asperger's or autism, can make things slightly more difficult. So keep watching for more information. So the first thing that I'd say is really important is communication. And we need communication, not just because we want our partner to know, if our partner's neurotypical, we're autistic, to know our boundaries and what we're okay with, what we're not okay with, what we struggle with and stuff like that. But we also want our partner to let us know whatever's going on, because it's not always easy for us to pick up on that. And, you know, nobody's a mind reader, especially not us. You know, if we're in a relationship, we obviously care about that person and like that person, and we don't want that person to feel uncomfortable or awkward, and we don't want to feel uncomfortable or awkward either. So it just rules out any awkwardness or uncomfortableness. Sometimes as well we need to reiterate things, and you know, if you feel like, oh well, I told so and so this and it's gone in one ear and out the other, you know, they might have forgotten, they might need reminding. You know, it's okay, just keep calm about it and just keep communicating. Another thing I'd say is get the person that you might be going into a relationship with, or you know, that you've been dating or whatever, to tell you how they feel about you. Because what I've found is, a lot of the time, is I've misinterpreted the other person's intentions. And you know, if I feel like, oh well, they're talking to me a lot and you know, they're complimenting me and stuff like that, I've sometimes misread that as being they want to continue seeing me, and instead it's been like, actually no, I've got what I want and I'm not going to speak to you again. Which often leads to feelings of rejection, obviously, and for somebody with Asperger's and autism, that can be incredibly heightened, and you know, it can feel almost devastating, even though that you know deep down that that person's not like the one. You know, it's still, well, for me anyway, like in past situations, like it's just really difficult to get your head around. The next one is if you're in a relationship with somebody with autism, make sure they're okay with like being touched and you know, other sensory things like I don't know, it might just be even like brushing hair and stuff like that, or touching somebody's feet or whatever. Sounds weird, but some people just don't like to be touched, and yeah, it can become quite awkward and uncomfortable. The next one is if you are a person with autism or Asperger's. I keep saying autism or Asperger's, like I'll just say autism because, you know, it's easier. They've compiled it into that anyway, so it makes sense. Just be careful of well, other people. If you don't know them very well, and you're not like in a relationship where you fully trust them, or you know, they're giving a lot to you and you know, accepting things from you, just be careful, because a lot of people can be manipulative, especially if they see you as vulnerable, especially if they see that, you know, you really like them. You know, some people can think, oh, actually I'll take advantage of that and, you know, get them to lend me money and then I'll not give it back or whatever. You'd be surprised how many times that's happened to me. Not just with money, just with other things. And, you know, after a while, it just makes you feel like, well, you know, is there actually anything to love about me, or do people just want me for money or things or favours or whatnot? And yeah. But then like everybody says, well, you know, just stop giving people stuff then, just, you know, stop being a mug. but it's really difficult to not be a mug, because like when you really like somebody, then you're just wanting to like, well, I am anyway, I'm just like give. But it's when the person doesn't give anything back that you kind of have to say, actually, it's kind of one-sided here, what's going on. The next tip I'd give is if you're in a relationship or dating, whether you're autistic or not, just do things that are romantic and out of the blue and just nice, because it really does lift the vibe, especially if you've had an argument. Or I'm not saying have an argument and then do this. I'm saying, just every now and then, whether it's buying them flowers or writing little cute notes or making the dinner for them and cutting the sandwich out in the shape of a heart or something like that. Just stuff like that really can just make them feel really special and loved, and then it's just nice, isn't it, like to have stuff like that done. And I think after you've been in a relationship for a while, that kind of starts to dwindle. So, I mean, my boyfriend still buys me flowers. We've been together 2.5 years, round about that anyway. And he still does stuff like that. I still write him little letters and stuff, and make him things and stuff, bake for him and all that. And it just keeps the spirit alive then. Like, it's cheesy, isn't it? But you know what I mean, it's just nice to do that. The next tip I'd give is when you get into a relationship or you start dating somebody, don't stop talking to your friends and your family and stuff like that, because, I mean, I don't do this anymore, but when I like somebody, historically speaking, I get a bit obsessive and everything else goes out the window and I can only think about that person. And even if it isn't love, I kind of get fixated on a person, do you know what I mean? And if things go wrong with the relationship, or you don't want to date them anymore, or they don't want to date you anymore, or whatever, to have to go back to nothing, like no support group, and or try and rebuild all your friendships and stuff, it's just hassle. So I just keep that balance. Another tip I'd give is, I keep saying make sure your partner's aware of, like, because it all ties into communication, to be honest, well, most of it anyway, but make sure your partner's aware that you want enough alone time, because 10% battery. Because if they're like hounding you and they don't know that you need alone time and stuff, or they don't fully get it, then that'll just make you feel super pressured and super shit and like, fuck off. And you don't want to be pushed to that kind of situation. Another thing is, if your partner does something to upset you, and I'm speaking from an autistic person's point of view, please don't always assume that they meant it, or it was meant maliciously, or it was meant as a dig or as a criticism or as a nag or something, because the amount of times that I've like got upset over things that a partner said to me and it's been completely like not what I took it as, it's just ridiculous, and it causes so much hassle. And I have the habit of, like, when I'm upset with somebody, I'll just not talk to them. Not like out of defiance, just like I won't want to talk to them because I don't like confrontation, and I will just get upset and I'll overthink and make a mountain of a molehill, and then by the time you know it, like, the other person's upset and pissed off because I'm not talking to them. It's just like, oh. So to avoid that, just say, sorry, I didn't understand what you meant by that. Can you please explain to me what you meant by that? And I'm sure, like, unless it's some horrible, nasty knob, they will explain to you. And, if it was meant nastily, it was meant nastily. There's nothing you can do about that. Just tell them to sod off. But if it wasn't, then at least you know that actually sometimes things aren't always what they seem to you, because I am so good at misinterpreting things. That's one of the things that I struggle with, like social wise. Another thing is, if you have like a rigid routine, which I like to have, and I know a lot of other people like to have too, make sure your partner's aware. I keep saying it. But yeah, make sure they're aware of your routine and try and like slip dates in and stuff like that. Obviously when it's convenient for them, but also when it fits in with your routine, with your schedule, because it'll make you a lot less stress if you're thinking, oh God, I've got to do this thing on this day, but that's the day that I'll sit in my pants and do nothing, and I have to do that, you know, because it just, I've done it before where I've compromised my routine and then that just sends me into meltdown or just makes me so much more stressed out that I need to be, and then, you know, work goes down the shitter and I can't keep up with stuff, and it sounds really over dramatic, but you know, I'm sure some people out there will feel the same about it. Another thing, I keep saying, and another thing, and make your partner aware. When it comes to things that you're anxious about that you sometimes have to go to, like weddings and funerals and stuff like that, if it's something big like that and you kind of have to go, like, well, you don't really have to go, but you know, if your partner really 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 wants you to go and you're just like, you know, I'm gonna have to go, make them aware that you're going to be really nervous and really anxious. And if you're unsure about how to behave in a certain situation, like if you're going to meet their friends for the first time and you're shitting yourself and you don't know what to do, there's no harm in asking, sorry, what do you do in that situation? How do you want me to present myself? What shall I say to these people? Can I learn a little bit more about your friend so and so and your friend so and so, just so that I've got stuff to talk about? You know, anything that's going to help you prepare mentally and, you know, not get yourself in a flat at the time is going to pay off. I do that sometimes. I always ask about, you know, whether I'm meeting new people, friends of his or whatever. And, you know, Brad's always been good at saying, well, you know, so-and-so is really nice and they're into this, they're into that, and they've been such and such a place on their holidays, and it gives me a bit of background, so at least then I'm not like stood in silence like, I don't know what to say, fucking hell. So yeah, and that's all I can think about from the top of my head today. If you've got any more questions, please feel free to ask. If you like this video, please like it. And if you like my channel or you want to see more of my stuff, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!